All right, what's up, everybody? So in this video, I'm going to break down the recent live webinar that we just did a few days ago, where we did pretty close to $130,000 in revenue from a mid-ticket $1,000 course direct to cart on the webinar with no sales call and no sales team whatsoever in generating this revenue. And we only spent $10,000 on ads. I'm going to break down the numbers, how we actually constructed and orchestrated this webinar, the promotion strategies, how we filled the webinar with over 1,000 people live on Zoom, all the nitty gritties I'm going to go through in this video. I'm primarily making this for the bunch of people that replied back to my post on Facebook. I really had no intention of actually making this. I thought I'd get like 5 people commenting, but here we are. So pretty cool, and hopefully this helps you guys. So again, just a quick recap. We did this live webinar 5 days ago now, 6 days ago. So Tuesday of last week at the time of recording this. It's August 19th. So we did Tuesday, August 11th, and the numbers are as follows. So we had 5,123 signups for this webinar. We had 1,174 attendees live, so roughly a 23% show rate. Definitely one of our weaker points for this webinar, and definitely one of our major areas of focus to improve. We had roughly 861 people stay till the 1 hour mark, which is pretty damn good. So we had a 73% retention rate. We had 126 total sales from the webinar in general, between sales live on the webinar and after the webinar during the what we call the cart close window, which is open for 48 hours post-webinar. Again, this webinar was selling a mid-ticket direct-to-cart $1,000 course, sort of a DIY course offer, not a high-ticket book a call kind of traditional 5, 6, 10K offer. Again, gross revenue from this webinar was $129,700. Upfront cash was $113,562, and the remaining $16,000 or so in cash is from payment plans. And we only spent $10,000 or so on ads, with that being primarily warm traffic retargeting. The buyer split is as follows. You guys can see that here. Not going to go through it, just not necessary. You want to keep this loom ideally as short as possible. The 3 most important metrics from this webinar that we gathered was, number 1, our cash per attendee was $97. Our cash per attendee that stuck to the 1 hour mark was $132. And our conversion rate from webinar registration to sale was roughly 2.5%. So again, the general model for this webinar was a free live workshop on Zoom that lasted roughly 2 hours. So this wasn't like a paid workshop where we sold tickets for like $29, like $27 or $47 or anything like that. For context, in this holistic health coaching company, we've been doing live webinars for almost a year now. Actually, we started doing them September of 2025, so last year. And since then, they've done tremendously well. However, the biggest issue we were consistently running into with the live webinars we did up until July of this year was we would fill the Zoom room consistently with 700, 800, sometimes even 1,000 people. And we would consistently have, 200, 250 calls booked per webinar. Lots of call volume. The sales team was absolutely packed to the brim for at least 5 days post webinar, which was awesome. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of buzz generated. However, outside of one webinar we did up until just past July, every single 7 of the 8 webinars we did selling book a call to a high ticket sales team offer, we only generated on average about $70,000 in cash. And a lot of that was due to sales team performance issues, sales team operational issues, and lack of efficiency. And so what we were noticing was we were putting all this energy, all this time, and creating all this buzz with the webinar, and really not generating nearly as much cash as we knew we should have been generating and as was possible from these webinars, given how many people were interested, all the buzz we were creating. And when you factor in sales team commissions and then you factor in coaching delivery costs, that $70K cash really starts to dwindle pretty quick. And it was just kind of deflating and not super inspiring, given how much energy goes into doing these live webinars, both for us on the marketing team and also for the founders. So what we did starting in early July was we said, what if instead of selling book a call to a high ticket offer with the sales team, where we also have to fulfill coaching deliverables, what if we just sold a DIY 997 direct to cart version of the course that we have clients get access to when they buy the high ticket? And that's exactly what we did in the last webinar in early July, and it's what we did on this one. So that's the core model, again, direct to cart. So when we dropped the offer, roughly 45 minutes to an hour in, we had someone from our team consistently dropping the link where someone can just click the link, and it's literally just a simple checkout page with a recap of the offer stack, and they can just go and pay $9.97 right there on the webinar. Again, no sales call, no application, no phone sales whatsoever for this webinar and this model. The cart stays open, again, for 48 hours post-webinar. So we did the webinar, had all the buzz. I think we had roughly 67 sales live on the webinar, so we did about $67K in cash live during the webinar itself, and then the remaining roughly other like 62 or whatever, 60, something like that, other 50% or so sales came in post-webinar during the cart close window. We still do high ticket coaching Ascension. It just happens on the back end of this webinar, so we still make plenty of profit, and we don't sacrifice all the profit we make for trying to go straight to the high ticket. And what we're finding in general is what's sort of a winning formula for us at the moment, at a macro level, is we have some really profitable low ticket funnels on the front end. So we have a couple low ticket funnels that are cranking. We spend about $100,000 a month or so on ads to low ticket and liquidate over 100%, which is amazing. We're at about 115, 120% on average, give or take. So we're just a tad bit profitable on our low ticket. And so what we're doing is we're filling our audience and our email list up with new low ticket customers every single day, every single month, and at scale. And we're then sort of monetizing on all these new higher quality leads, if you will, and customers through a once a month. We're actually doing two webinars per month now because we're really doubling down on them. But we're kind of doing a big event monetization type thing with these webinars, and it's just working tremendously well. And I think a lot of high ticket businesses should at least test and consider moving to a model like this, because low ticket, you can liquidate all your ad spend on the front if you obviously do it well and do it right. It takes time to get there, but you can do it. And then you can make a pretty significant amount of profit selling direct to cart without a sales team on live webinars. I will say, guys, for all those watching, this is a lot of work. This is by no means a walk in the park. We have a team. There's a lot of effort. We prep for these webinars, 10 days to 2 weeks in advance, sometimes more. This is no joke. It's not a small endeavor. There's a lot of work, but it's super worth it because the margins are really high. It's a lot of fun, and it allows marketing to retain and have more control as a true profit center for the business. So let's keep going here. Traffic sources. So roughly 50 to 60% of our sales trace back to email and Instagram. So we do a lot on Instagram organic. We do a lot on organic in general. We didn't do any cold traffic for this webinar. We just did email. Our primary traffic sources were email, Instagram, Facebook organic, a little bit of YouTube organic, but primarily Instagram and Facebook on the organic side. And then on the ad side, it was just $10,000 in spend on the retargeting audiences. Now, we also did some SMS promo. We did some WhatsApp promo, which is a major under-leveraged channel for a lot of businesses, and it works tremendously well for us. But all in all, this is all warm traffic. Interestingly enough, and this is something I'm going to talk about later about something we can improve on, our ads actually only directly attributed about 10 sales. So we just about broke even on our ad spend, which I'm really not mad at. However, we're definitely planning to improve that for the next webinar. It's not great, to be honest, but it's not terrible either. So what we did for this webinar is we did a 6-day promo cycle, which is also something we're changing and improving for the next one. We're going to trim that down to hopefully improve show rates. However, this one and the last one that we did in July, where we did about 110K in cash on the same model, we did a 6-day promo. So we start sending emails, doing Instagram content, etc. 6 days before the webinar goes live. We do 2 emails a day. So we go really heavy on the email side. Email's a big generator for us of leads, sales, momentum. And then again, we do SMS and WhatsApp promo. I'm going to not go through this, but you guys, I'm going to drop the link to this Google Doc. You guys can read through this as well. It's kind of a cool little Instagram marketing trick that we, our Instagram manager kind of developed. It's very cool. And we just started doubling down on it. And it helped a lot with getting more opt-ins and sales from our Instagram stories. We also realized that with our Instagram promo efforts, we kind of tested something where we would do, say, a carousel with like 5 or 10 slides that were really valuable on a particular topic related to the webinar. And then at the end, we would drop a CTA to comment X word to get access to a specific PDF or a video that was the direct asset related to that post, instead of pushing people to the webinar, which is like, hey, if you want to get more stuff like this, join us on the live workshop coming up on X date. And we found that it actually just didn't work as well when we sent traffic to those direct assets, which you would think would make sense and that it would work better because it's like assets that are directly congruent with the posts that they're seeing. But interestingly enough, we found that when we send people just straight to the webinar registration off of every single piece of content, that just works better and we get more registrations and more sales when we do it that way. It still went well this time around, don't get me wrong, we still crushed it, but we're just learning these lessons. So that's something that we noticed pretty obviously for this one. So we have a really robust email show-up sequence as well. So as soon as someone signs up, they get 7 to 8 emails after the confirmation email. So they get initial confirmation email, and then they get another 7 to 8 emails between that initial confirmation and signing up and the actual webinar going live. Then we do reminders via SMS and WhatsApp. As far as the emails and what they consist of, it's just a mix of, obviously there's like a confirmation, so sort of like logistics, add it to your calendar, join our WhatsApp group for a special bonus piece of content, do this, do that, etc. But a lot of it is getting people excited about the webinar, reinforcing what they're going to learn, reinforcing this kind of sentiment and buzz of like, you got to show up because we're going to show you this really cool thing. You want to make sure you're there live. We also do giveaways and bonuses for people who show up live. So that's also helpful for show rate and what we reiterate in the emails. We do a mix of belief shifting, client case studies, personal stories, just direct emails like, hey, just a reminder, the email's going live, the webinar is going live. Here's a reminder of what you're going to learn. If you're experiencing X, Y, and Z problem, you're going to want to make sure you show up because I'm going to show you how to get to X, Y, and Z desired outcome. And here's a link to join as a reminder. We're going live in X time. Open rates held between 37 and 46% across all of these confirmation emails. So there really wasn't much drop off or fatigue. They can obviously be better, and we're going to continue to work on it. But again, not too bad. Some of our winning emails, whereas actually one of them in particular where we had someone do like a self-assessment before the webinar, which worked very well and had a really, really high click rate and engagement rate. That seems to work really well for us, and I would highly recommend you test it out if you're doing anything webinar related, because anytime you get people engaging, doing some sort of a test or a self-assessment before the webinar is just really, really helpful, and it increases the lean in, increases excitement, and ultimately show up rate as well to the webinar. So the webinar itself, again, we had 73% retention rate versus our average of 48% retention rate. So this webinar, we honestly just made it better. We increased the script flow. We tightened things up. We kind of decluttered some of the slides. We just made things punchier, and we just created more excitement in the beginning, which I believe was a huge contributing factor to people sticking around till the end. Again, we had about 861 people live on the webinar by the time we were an hour in, which is pretty awesome. Our average is 383, so we had more than double the amount of people live. And as far as just the content performance of this webinar, it's by far the best webinar we've had by a long shot, from retention rate, conversion rate, sales, cash, etc. Again, we made changes to this webinar that helped a lot, again, which is like tightening things up, tightening up the teaching section, just having less fluff, having less, honestly, to it, worked better. We also massively upgraded the pitch itself. So the first time we did this webinar in early July, it was actually for a different theme. That's another factor. So we have these like themed webinars that we're creating so we can have a rotation of different themes so that our webinars never go stale and our audience doesn't just get bored, because if we just do the same webinar and repeat, which we did up until like a few months ago, the audience just kind of gets fatigued. So that's why it's really important that you have front-end funnels that keep new people coming into the email list. So you're never just milking your email list and it's not growing with new people. And you also want to make sure you're building out new webinars to keep things fresh, novel, and exciting. So anyways, we really beefed out the pitch. I'll let you guys read through some of this stuff here. But originally in our first pitch, we kind of just dropped the offer stack and went like, here's what's included, and here's the price, and here's the bonuses, and here's the guarantee, and here's how to get started. Which obviously worked because we did like $100K cash on our first time doing a direct to cart last time in July. But on this time around, we just made the offer stack better. We improved the pitch. We made it more full. We had like an FAQ section with proof as the answer. So it's like, hey, a lot of people ask us this question, and here's how we think through it. Well, blah, blah, blah. Here's a bit of an answer. Oh, and then here's 2 or 3 examples of clients who overcame this specific thing by following our process and our protocols. And then it essentially functions as answering questions and handling objections and sharing client testimonials / social proof to create that emotional connection between the audience and your clients, and therefore you and your offer. So it's a really helpful, powerful way to really just increase sales ultimately. We also put more spotlight on the bonuses that were included with the main offers. So it's easy to kind of overlook the bonuses, but we just extracted more sort of a spotlight on them and went like, here's more about them. Here's more about the bonuses, how they're going to help you, the problems they're going to solve, and the desired outcomes they're going to help you achieve. We also did a Q&A at the end, and something we did differently this time was previously we had coaches from our coaching team answering questions for people live on the webinar. which we realized was actually kind of killing our sales because it meant that people were just getting a bunch of value for free from coaches and then just kind of bouncing. So this time what we did is we didn't have any coaches answering questions for probably 90% of the Q&A, and we just had the founder answer questions, and we had the founder kind of stay almost in like salesperson mode where he answered questions in a way where he consistently tied back the answer to why they should take advantage of the offer and buy the product. And that helped tremendously. We also did a price anchor, which is true. Like a lot of our private clients are paying, 8 to 10K, upwards of 50K to get access to these same sort of protocols and teachings. And we were selling it for $997. Obviously, they didn't get coaching in the same way that these high ticket clients get, but they did get access to the same DIY course information and protocols that we give to those clients. Then next up, this is very important. So again, we had about 50% of our sales happen live on a webinar, and then another 50% or so happen post-webinar during the cart close, around 50%, give or take. I might be butchering the numbers a little bit here, but we had the cart stay open, meaning people could still go to the checkout page and purchase for another 48 hours post-webinar. From the time the webinar ended, we had a whole cart close email sequence where we sent 9 emails across that cart close window, across the 48 hours. Plus, we did SMS and WhatsApp sort of messages to get people to take advantage of the offer. And we actually had about $40,000 in sales in cash from the $997 offer come through on the very last day. So what I've noticed is a trend, because it's happened twice now on both of our live webinars, which is that we have this massive surge of sales on the very last day. And so what we're doing and what we have done so far and going to continue to do is double down on just sending more emails and sending better emails even more on the final day of promo, because people love to take advantage of the very, very last minute. They'll just wait till the last second to basically take advantage of the offer, right? And again, we have a 30-day guarantee where they get to keep the bonuses and get a refund based off certain conditions. So again, what worked overall was selling direct to cart, $997, no sales call. 86% of customers paid in full $997. The other 14% got on a payment plan. What also worked very well was our webinar on the our retention on the webinar itself was 73%. Again, our best of any single webinar we've done, hands down, in the last 11 months. We've also had the most signups that we've ever had. Our show rate was kind of shit. I'll talk about that in a minute. Email and Instagram really carried a lot of the sales, which makes sense. That's what we predicted anyways. But for this webinar, we actually had per source tracking, which we didn't have last time, or at least not as accurate. And so we were able to see now from this webinar that really a large portion of our sales come from email and Instagram. The sort of emoji story tactic that I talked about on Instagram up above, which you can go back and see just here in the document, worked very well. We also did a little bit of a screen share showing the actual product during the pitch, which is very helpful. Having the FAQ section set up the way it was and the Q&A done the way it was, tremendously helpful. Massively improved pitch, so we really spent more time in the pitch and made the Q&A essentially an extension of the pitch itself. And then again, cart close, really focusing a lot on the email sequence that goes out post-webinar to maximize on the total cash that we generated. Again, what didn't work so well really is primarily show rate. So we actually had like the same amount of live attendees on this webinar as we did when we did the same webinar back in February. However, we had like double the registrations, right? And so to have a lower show rate despite doubling the sign-up volume, not super inspiring, but it's okay. We're working on it. I've already got some pretty tangible action items on things that we're changing for this next webinar, which is happening in about a week or so, for how we're going to increase the show rate. But again, kind of shot the bed a little bit on our show rate. Some of that's what we had some email deliverability issues, which is sometimes you can't control that, but we do our best. And there's some things we did in the email sequences themselves that could be improved, some stuff on the landing, thank you page as well that could make things, tighten things up a bit. And also we didn't do as enticing of a giveaway on this one. When we do exciting giveaways, we see a direct correlation to an increase in show rate, and so we'll be doing that on the next one. But again, I would say show rate, kind of shit, and also our ads really didn't perform as well as I would have liked them. We got super cheap signups. We were getting like $4 or $5 leads from ads, which sounds awesome, but the sort of back out sales numbers didn't really look super sexy. So some of the things we're going to change is we're actually going to shrink the warm audience, because the warm audience we were retargeting was like really, really big. It was like a combination of Instagram followers from the last 6 months, Facebook page engagers from the last 6 months, a lot of like 6 month out audiences. So we're going to tighten those up, and we're actually going to try and get a warm audience down to like 100,000 people that are just super, super warm, super targeted, and see what results that yields, because there's a very good chance Facebook pushed a lot of our spend to the bigger audiences, despite us having some other warm audiences in this kind of stack. So we're going to get more granular on the ad set level when we run the campaigns and run specific ad sets to only one single warm audience and see how these different warm audiences perform. So that should help us as well on the ad side. But again, didn't do so well this time around. Other things that were not so good was we started promo 6 days out. What we've realized is that there's just a direct correlation between show rate dropping and like show rate drops when we do promo 6 days out or later. So this time around, we're testing 5 days out. So we're going to push things back one day. We're also going to launch ads one day later. Also, SMS, honestly, didn't do very well for us. We probably could just have better SMS messages. There's probably plenty of stuff we just aren't doing as well as we could be. So we're looking into that, but that was also something that honestly just didn't do very much for us. And when I say SMS, I mean primarily the promo SMS and the cart close. We just didn't generate that much net cash from SMS in general, which is kind of surprising because I thought it would, but you never know. So yeah, this is the stuff that we're changing. Again, we're going to compress the promo down to 5.5 days. We're doing a supplement bundle giveaway this time around to 2 winners, which I think is going to directly help show rate quite a bit. We're also stepping things up on the thank you page. We're going to have an actual video this time around, which we haven't. We're going to incentivize people to respond to a certain sort of like form on the thank you page and let us know they're going to be there live to sort of enter their ticket into the giveaway. So a lot of these things that are just going to get tighter. Again, we're going to be optimizing ads for confirmed live people that respond to this thing over here, this button, not just a sign up or registration. And we're also going to be testing some new reseeded lookalikes based off of attendees of the webinars, not just registrations. So we're going to test, lookalikes based off of attendees and buyers. So we'll probably test some lookalikes on some cold traffic. So that's really it. Otherwise, this Loom's going to get way too long. I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you want an extra set of eyes on your stuff, also let me know if you want some help. I do take on, the occasional consulting client if it's fun and I genuinely feel like I can help you. So feel free to reach out. But yeah, again, I really hope this was helpful. And if you aren't doing webinars, do them. They're amazing. I love them. And I specifically love the combination of ripping a low ticket funnel and spending $100,000 a month on it, liquidating 100%, and then getting all those buyers and selling a product that doesn't require the sales team. All right, see you guys.